Hello and welcome to Seattle City Makers. I'm your host, Jon Scholes. Well, welcome to our latest episode, where I'm joined by Bill Berry, who's the executive and artistic director of the Fifth Avenue Theater. He has had a long career at the Fifth, beginning in 2002, coming to Seattle from New York. And Bill and I talk about a range of topics: the state of the theater, some of the upcoming performances and shows, the new alliance with the Seattle Theater Group, Bill's first job, his perfect Saturday in Seattle, and much more. Enjoy my conversation with Bill Berry, executive and artistic director with the Fifth Avenue Theater. Well, thanks for coming over.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Really November-y Seattle day here.
This is very Seattle. I feel like
so
this
Seattle.
is what we think of when we think of Seattle.
We're in the big dark.
Yeah.
It comes every year.
It's okay though, because that just means more time to spend inside at theaters, museums,
There you
symphonies.
go.
It's the
There
opportunity.
Yes. I know you have some good news to share on just the progress being made to continue to evolve the Fifth, and audience numbers are up in subscription. We'll get to some of that. But first, you've been there a long time.
I've been there for 25 years.
25 now.
25, yeah.
Wow.
We're in my 25th year. And I tell people I moved out here to take a job at the Fifth Avenue.
From New York, right?
From New York. I was living in New York at the time. And I thought, I'll move to Seattle and I'll spend maybe 2 or 3 years in Seattle. And I'm not exaggerating. 6 months after I came to Seattle, I thought, I'm never leaving. I love Seattle.
Yeah.
It's everything I want a city to be and none of the hassles of bigger cities.
What originally drew you out? Was it that role, or were you wanting to just come to the city and then figured out what you were going to do once you got here? No,
I got hired to come to the Fifth Avenue at the time to be the associate artistic director, and I was coming out to do that job. And like I said, I fell in love with Seattle, but I also fell in love with the Fifth Avenue Theater, and was like, oh, this is the kind of place I want to be. Making people happy, yeah, that's fun. Making musicals, what's bad about that? A company that was evolving and changing at the time and building a profile to produce more theater and do new musicals. It was just an exciting place to be. And I can't imagine my life without being there at this point.
And you were doing more freelance artistic theater work in New York. So you weren't connected to a production house. You weren't connected to a theater and an org.
I just freelanced. I went from place to place and was networking and meeting people. And I would take any job that was offered to me just so I could say, okay, maybe this is a place I'm going to meet someone. And I had met David Armstrong, who became the first artistic director at the Fifth Avenue while doing one of those freelance gigs. When he got the job to come out here, he said, hey, I'm looking for someone. Are you interested? And I was like, sure, why not? I'll come out and interview. And I do tell people I came to Seattle to interview. It was sunny. It was beautiful. It was amazing. I moved to Seattle, I think about 2 months later. It did not stop raining for 33 days in a row. And
I remember that year.
It was that misting that would happen every day. I didn't see the sun. And we had the earthquake within like the first month I was here, I think.
So 2001, yeah.
So I was very like, oh, great. Yeah, the Seattle, great choice.
Had you spent much time out here before?
No. Yeah. I'd spent that one day out here before. Wow. That was my introduction.
Fell in love.
And I fell in love.
Did you think you'd be at the Fifth for so long?
No. Never in a million years did I think I would stay someplace for 25 years. I still don't really think of it as 25 years. It's only when people sort of bring it up, I'm like, oh yeah, it has been 25 years, because it feels like I just got here. I'm still learning. There's still things to discover.
And what are some of the different hats you wore over your career? Worn over your career?
I started the education programs at the Fifth, so I managed the education and engagement programs. Was in charge of developing new work for a while, and then moved into more producing roles. I was the producing, what was it even called? Producing director, I think was the title I had for a while. Then I was the artistic director. And then in the last change of leadership, the board talked to me about becoming the executive director. I tell everyone this. I said no. I said no multiple times.
Why not?
I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And they kept saying, well, just think about it. Just think about it. And eventually I thought, okay, they keep asking. So clearly they want me to do this job. What is it that's holding me back? And what scared me was fundraising. I hadn't been in charge of fundraising. And so I called Bernie Griffin, who had been our previous managing director. And I said, will you talk to me about fundraising? And will you tell me the truth? Do you think I can do this? And Bernie said to me, Bill, you've been on these calls for the last 15 years. You know exactly how to do this. And she agreed to go on calls with me. So spoiler alert, if you get a call that's like, Bill and Bernie want to have lunch with you, just say no, because we're about to ask you for money. No, say yes, we're fun. But no, it was sort of like getting the confidence around that part.
Yeah.
That was what was holding me back. And also I'd been used to, I love being behind the scenes. It's one of the things I love about directing is you're in the dark and you're like figuring out how to do stuff. And I was like, how's it going to feel to be out front all the time? Another spoiler, I love it. Like I realized, it's fun. It's a whole different part of my personality I hadn't been having to use. It's all good. Everything worked out. I'm happy. They're happy, I think. We're here.
That's great. And you've got good news and progress to report. I know you closed out your fiscal year, in August?
We did.
And some of your metrics comparing back to fiscal year 23-24 and the growth were pretty impressive. What would you say are some of the highlights after, what everybody is aware of? It's been a really difficult number of years coming out of the pandemic for many arts and cultural organizations.
Yeah, we dropped subscription down to a really low number coming out of the pandemic, and we've been growing. As of today, we're 25% more subscribers than we were at our lowest point, and that is really due to the hard work of our team. We really took stock of like, hey, what's working, what's not working. Let's focus on what's working. Let's innovate, try some new things about how we subscribe. Don't stick to the old formula that was the pre-pandemic, how we do it. Let's look at where we are today. What do we do now? And so we really leaned in. We worked with a company called JCA Marketing, who's actually using us as a case study in how to grow subscriptions. They just sent out an article 2 days ago about the success we're having and the things that we implemented. And I think the other really impressive metric for us is we raised more money last year than we have ever raised in our
the thing you were a little hesitant
I was afraid
about.
of, and that's
You're crushing.
I'm crushing it. No, I would be like, oh no, that's not what I was headed towards. It's because everyone's working really hard.
Yeah.
It's because we've really turned it into a team sport. Everyone has a stake in fundraising. Our board is really active in how we fundraise. We've just doubled down on this is an important part of how we're stabilizing the institution, making sure that we're here for generations to come. We have shared purpose and shared vision.
Back to the growth in subscriptions, which 25%, that's impressive. And I know that a number of the arts and cultural organizations that were more subscription-based coming out of COVID have had a harder time revitalizing because habits were broken, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
And so what are some of the things that you've done to spur that growth? What do you attribute those gains to? What are some of the
I think
the strategies and tactics?
I think there's a couple things that sort of all have to happen and have to align for it to work out the way it's working for us. And one thing, it starts with programming. We asked ourselves, what is going to be the tenets of programming? We're trying to not repeat titles. We had in the previous seasons, we thought, let's repeat these really popular titles because they were really popular pre-pandemic.
We'll run it again.
We'll run it again. And that didn't serve us. So we said, okay, how soon can we repeat a title realistically? And we made a concerted effort in the last 2 seasons to pull away from things that had been there any sooner than 12 years. Now we will break that rule occasionally if we're really confident, but only with one title, not with more than one. So we said that's got to be a part of it. Also, what's the mix of things that people want to see? And we have to choose things that reasonably are going to appeal to 2,000 people at a time. That's how many seats we have. We want to fill those every time. The other thing that we did is more mechanical stuff around how long are we in a sales cycle with the subscription? Let's create some urgency. We're not going to sell subscriptions 12 months of the year. We want to focus on a period, get into the market, really push the message during that time period, and then step away from it and focus on other things. And that was something that the marketing consultants that we worked with really talked to us about. That
go hard for
a shorter period and then get out of the market, because you're not actually going to keep gaining people, but you are going to keep spending money on marketing. You're going to keep sort of diluting your message in some weird way. And so that was a tactic that we went, okay, for about 2.5 months, it's all we talked about. Subscribe. And then we stepped away. And during that push, which was more intense than we normally would do, that's when the growth happened. That's when we saw it really take off.
Do you have a sense of the demographics of your subscribers today? Are you getting people back that were once subscribers, or
it's a
larger number of people that are brand new.
Yeah, it's a mix. We're gaining back some of the people who left during the pandemic. However, one of the things when we really churned the data, a lot of the people that left us, they left us because they moved. They're not in the same neighborhoods they were in anymore. They moved further away. And so we're sort of more focused now on how do we attract new people? How do we build the path from being a single ticket buyer, and we call those triers. They're just sampling, they're seeing if they like it. How do we move them from trying to becoming devotees of the Fifth Avenue who want to take packages? So that is what we've been really focused on. So we're not going after the first time attendee for a subscriber because that's a big commitment. You've never been here, but why don't you buy 5 shows from us? It's probably not going to happen. But people have come once, twice, 3 times. Once you've come 3 times, hey, why aren't you just a subscriber? And we've really created messaging around that. You've been coming. Why not turn this into a package? You'll save money. It's guaranteed nights out. So that's kind of been our focus.
Yeah. I would imagine, or I guess hope, that the growing downtown residential population, a record residential population, accrues some benefit to
100%
to the theater.
100%. We are always talking to the concierges in the residential buildings, making sure that we, if we can get a poster in their mail rooms, make sure the concierges know how to reach us. If one of the residents wants to get a ticket, we want to help them. We've created, we have a program called Direct Connect, where we create codes for some of the buildings. So the building has its own code. They get a discount. We want to be your neighborhood theater. We are your neighborhood theater. Yeah. We're right over there, five blocks from where we're sitting right now.
Yeah, that's great. I notice it a lot more just in my elevator in our condo building, and it's a helpful little bit of information as you're going downstairs to just, it's like, oh yeah, like, why don't I go do that?
That's right.
There's so much noise you got to break through of all the different things, but it's pretty great when it's right around the corner, and it is for so many that live downtown. Yeah. You announced it was in March, right? With the you're not calling it a partnership.
We call it an alliance.
An alliance. Yes. It's not an acquisition. It's not a merger. It's an alliance with STG.
That's right.
How did this come to be?
Yeah, well, as we covered, I've been at the Fifth Avenue for 25 years. And I would say during that time, a minimum of 5 times, someone has said, why doesn't STG and the Fifth Avenue partner in some more meaningful way? And we would meet with them. We'd have conversations. Everybody would say, what an interesting idea. And then nothing would really come of it. Well, you know what? A global pandemic was a great opportunity to rethink business models and say, maybe there really is a reason to do this. What is it? And so we just reached out to Josh and said, do you want to talk? And again, I know we've done this before, but let's do it one more time. And he said, sure. And we sat down and we started to talk about the changing landscape, how he talks about it's important for them to have a producing theater company downtown. That's serving them as well. It's building the ecosystem of talent, but also the patrons who want to see musicals, and vice versa. Them being there is also serving us. You go to have a good time.
Musicals on their stage, even if they're not produced here.
You have a good time at a musical there. You go, I want to see more musicals. Yeah. Oh, come over to the Fifth Avenue. We got musicals. And so we started to just align around some values that we said, we kind of all want the same things. And we started to talk about what are the strengths of each company. And we had this really great exercise we did really early on, which was amazing. We said, don't talk out loud anymore. You're going to go away. We're going to come back in a week. And in a week, you're going to write down the top 7 things that must be included in any kind of partnership or way we work together. What is important to each institution?
You went and did this independently?
Independently. And we come back together.
Whose idea was that?
It was actually their board chair, whose name is escaping me in this moment. I should know his name. Might pop in and I'll just say it when it does. It was his idea. And it was a great idea. It was like, that's going to help us see if there's a there. So we go away, we make our list, we come back together, and who's going to go first? Oh, let's just each say our first one. They say, having the Fifth Avenue Theater producing live musicals by Seattle for Seattle. I'm like, God, that's our first thing. Well, that's weird. Okay, that's not going to keep happening. So we go to the second one. And it's, I don't remember them all, but we go through this list, and number 2 and number 2 are the same. Number 3 and number 3 are the same. Then they start not being.
You had the same order, huh?
They were the same order. The top 3 are the same order. Then they start not being in the same order, but you can find it on each other's list.
Yeah.
And so we finished that meeting and we said, okay, if we both wrote down 7 things that are on each other's list, we got to keep going. And that really led to, we had a lot of long meetings where we talked about the business realities of what it would look like. But the main thing we realized is STG as an organization are experts at managing historic venues, and the Fifth Avenue are experts at creating live musical theater for Seattle. And we leaned in and said, that's what we're going to each make sure we do in this alliance.
Because they've got underlying ownership, the Paramount, Neptune,
the Moore. Yeah, they manage these historic venues.
Yep.
They have a staff. They know the needs of these historic buildings. And so that became they're yeah, we want to do that. They also wanted to program more concerts and comedy. The Fifth Avenue has always said, as we always talked about, maybe we should start a comedy series. Maybe we should start a concert series. And then we would say, but the Paramount does that already and they do it really well. We don't want to compete. Yeah. And so now we created a space where they can do that in our venue. Their venue, arguably, we share the venue. They're managing it, but it's ours too. They can do that. And what we get out of that is now there's all these different people coming. They've done 5 or 6 concerts. They had Sesame Street Live there a few weeks back, and they've been surveying. And one of the questions is, have you ever been in the Fifth Avenue Theater before? And the answer is overwhelmingly, more than 70% no. And that means what we're doing is introducing new people to the beautiful, beautiful building.
Yeah.
But also, we've got elf marketing all over the place in that building. So, you're walking in and you might say, oh, yeah, I want to come back and see elves. So that's going to support the Fifth Avenue's producing as well. So it really became at some point in these conversations, we said, well, we got to do this. This is the right next step. So far we're a couple months into it and it's working really well.
Yeah, I was looking at the calendar.
Yeah.
And saw Charlie Crockett come into
they got some great acts coming
in February, I think it was. Yeah. And it's just Charlie Crockett the Fifth. I wouldn't have put that together earlier. Right. And I was like, oh, of course, because of this alliance. Yep. And it's great. And I mean, it's just all upside for downtown, for customers, for patrons. It's more is more, and it's great.
It's going to add, I think we estimated about 100 events in the course of a year to downtown, which means restaurants, hotels, shopping, all of that is going to just get more foot traffic, more people coming. We know that the restaurants downtown count on events at the Fifth Avenue Theater. I'm always out to dinner and every restaurant's like, oh, you're from the Fifth. We love you. Our business goes up so much every time you do a show. Do more shows. Well, we couldn't do more shows. We were maxed out at our capacity. But now with STG, 100 more events take place downtown.
Yeah, we've always been a great music town, but you look at what has been added because of the climate pledge.
Yep.
80 or so a year. And then what you all are doing, it's we've got an abundance of music and comedy, right?
That's right.
Doing other things on the stage.
Yeah.
And a great new restaurant to go to before the Fifth, right around the corner from
you. Oh my God, so many. Well, so many.
That opens next week. So
Carmine's.
That makes for a pretty good night. Yeah. Carmine's and then the Fifth.
That's right. I love Carmine's and I'm glad I don't have to go down to Pioneer Square. I get to stay I live right next to the library. I can just walk over to work. At the end of the day, walk over to Carmine's. I got it all covered now.
I'll see you there. Yeah. I got through there last night for their soft little opening. And it's great.
Yeah. Well, it's been amazing just in the last, I would say, year and a half, how many new restaurants opened up around the Fifth Avenue Theater. We've just been repopulating and, we're pitching to our patrons, come down early, go to one of these restaurants.
Yeah. Yeah. You're on a good block there.
That's
There's
right.
been some good energy of late. And new openings, new businesses. You mentioned the building. What is the state of the building, the theater itself?
Yeah.
And STG, they have the underlying ownership now.
Yeah, so right? STG is the basically our landlord, and then they sublease to us. They rent it from the University of Washington. Actually owns the Skinner building.
That's right.
And so we had a long-term lease. Now the long-term lease is held by STG, and they have to give us 26 weeks a year. They get 26 weeks a year to do what their program. We get 26 for ours. The building's in really good shape. I mean, we felt really good about doing this transfer. Now we just redid the seats and carpet. We did that during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. The building, the Fifth Avenue as a organization did a good job of shepherding the theater space and keeping it in good repair. And so we handed off to STG to be the stewards of that part of the operation, and it's in good shape. And there's new tenants moving into the Skinner building as well. We see activity in that building. What people maybe don't know is it's an office building as well as a theater.
Yeah.
So you walk out of the theater and you're in a hallway. It's one of my favorite hallways in Seattle because it's just door after door and it feels like you're in a detective film noir. You open one of those doors and there's going to be a femme fatale sitting in there telling what she needs.
Very unique building. And then you got the underground connection over to Rainier Tower and some interesting things to come there here too. So
there is a new restaurant opening in the basement of the Skinner building. Right. It's not for me to say anything about that other than there is a new restaurant coming and we're excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. I won't say anything about it either, but
fingers tease everyone about
fingers
it.
Crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll also make for a good night.
That's right.
Go down there and then pop up to see a show or music or what have you.
Yeah.
So, and now that you don't have the primary lease with UW on it, you don't sort of have to worry about all the the issues with the building or the upkeep, and you guys put money into it. So it's got to be a nice place to be just to be able to focus on production and theater.
That's exactly right. I mean, that was one of the things that we said was an upside to the Fifth is we're going to really focus on how we can create great musical theater experiences and put all our resources towards that. And no regrets for the resources we put towards the upkeep on the building and being stewards of that. I mean, that is amazing. The building's going to be 100 years this next year. It's going to have its 100-year anniversary. And so we're proud to have been part of that stewardship and legacy and been the caretakers. And we're also excited to focus on this magical thing, making musicals and driving the downtown economy by putting on amazing musicals. We have Elf coming up next. It's going to start right after Thanksgiving.
Right? Yeah.
And that is always a thrilling time at the Fifth Avenue. We usually play to about 90% capacity. And you just see so many people returning year after year to downtown to see the lights on the streets, come to the Fifth Avenue, have this experience. It's magic.
Yeah, feel the holiday vibes.
Yeah.
How unique is the Fifth here in Seattle relative to other theaters around the country as far as the production horsepower, capabilities, creativity?
Yeah.
Where do we sit relative?
I would say it's pretty special. Yeah. And not just because I work there, but because I only really have 4 other theaters in the country that produce at the level that we do, size, scale. Basically we're producing Broadway shows for Seattle at the Fifth Avenue Theater.
And some that eventually end up.
And some that do actually eventually end up on Broadway. Yeah. We've had many shows go to New York. But there's really only, Theater Under the Stars in Houston, Paper Mill Playhouse, the Ordway Center sometimes, but hasn't been producing as much lately. So there's not a lot of places that do the size and scale of musical theater production. There's a lot of places that put on great musicals. There's no, I'm not denigrating them in any way. It's just that what we do is really Broadway caliber in terms of everything, the bells and whistles, the large orchestras, the scenery, the costumes, the number of people in the cast.
And beyond Elf, what are you looking forward to in 26? That will be gracing the stages.
Yeah, personally, I'm directing Jesus Christ Superstar at the end of the season, and I'm super excited about that. I can't announce yet, but we have some stars, some Seattle stars, some folks who I think will be surprising when people hear their names. They're from some Seattle rock bands, is what I can tease out today.
Right on.
And that was important to me when we started looking at doing Jesus Christ Superstar, which is, a rock opera. And I said, what about the Seattle music scene can we feature in this and celebrate that rock and roll legacy that is Seattle? So we have been able to get 2 really, I think, great people, and we're going to announce that, I think, right after the first of the year. So people will hear about that a lot. And I'm excited about that. It's a great show. It's one of my favorite scores. And we're expecting really big turnout for that as well.
And you're directing.
It's real popular, and I'm directing, yeah.
Is that a unique, often in these, the business side and the artistic side is split between 2 different people, and it's merged. You have the title executive director and artistic director. Is that somewhat unique in the space?
It is unique. It's not completely unheard of.
Yeah.
And I happen to love the business side just as much as I love the artistic side. In fact, I actually think the business, it makes the art happen and the art makes the business happen. And when you start to separate them too much, that's when things go a little sideways. But if you really understand, every time I figure out what we're going to do from a business perspective, that's going to impact how we make art. And every time I figure out how we're going to make art, that's going to impact what we need to do over here in the business.
You just have to get along with yourself.
I have to get along with myself, and I do have arguments about how much money we should spend on things with myself. It's fun. But also, I have a staff that is, I should say we have a staff. It's not my staff. It's the Fifth Avenue's. A staff that's really committed and works really well and understands that part of my unique skill set is to be in a rehearsal room working on a show. And so we've worked really hard to create ways for me to step away, because I'll be in rehearsal for about 4.5 weeks, where I really kind of have to focus on that. And so we have to make sure everyone has rules of engagement and they're experts at what they do. And I am a leader who I would much rather lead from a place of everyone is giving me input and they're experts and they're advising. And I'm just kind of going, okay, from a 30,000 foot level, what is the best choice to make on any decision making? And I feel really comfortable that me going to rehearsal for 4 weeks isn't going to stop everything. They're going to keep making great decisions. Yeah. And when I come back up for air, I'm going to be like, great, these were good decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Because that structure wasn't always in place at the Fifth, right? I mean, Bernie wore one hat, and
I wore the other for a long time. Which is also when we go back to like why I kept saying no. I was like, no, I collaborate. I want a partner. I want a partner. And so that's what took the convincing. And then I found a different way to collaborate in the role that I'm in now, with having all the support team and being like, great, they're all my collaborators. I don't need just one person. But yeah, and then before Bernie and I took over, it was a structure where there was an executive, and then Bernie and I were the two people underneath the one executive. That was David Armstrong and Bernie and I. And so the Fifth has tried lots of different leadership role things. And I fully believe when I leave, they'll probably do yet another one, because I think sometimes especially in the arts, we get stuck in this is how it works. But the Fifth has been so good about saying, let's reinvent ourselves. And isn't that really what the SDG Fifth Avenue Alliance is? We're just reinventing ourselves for the actual real world conditions that we are in. And I would be foolish to say that's what it's going to look like for the next 30 years. It might, but it's possible that 15 years from now, SDG and the Fifth Avenue says, hey, that worked really well, but now it's time to evolve yet again. That's how we've been here as long as we've been, and that's how we'll.
And you've had to reinvent and evolve, over these decades that the theater's been here, and it was closed for a number of years.
That's right.
Right. I mean, it's faced challenges and headwinds, and been a pretty resilient place.
That's right.
Are there some historic nuggets that most people don't know or don't appreciate? Things that have taken place on the stage and the building that you would want to highlight?
Yeah, that's a great question. Trying to think that through. Like, what are they? Well, I mean, I'm not sure everyone knows the history of the Fifth Avenue. It was originally built to show a movie and a live performance. It was what was called a presentation house. And sometimes people say it was built as a vaudeville house. And I'm always like, well, yes, sort of. But it was really built, movies already existed. And so it was built with the idea that they would show a movie and they would have a live performance. And that was its earliest iteration. And yes, vaudeville kind of crept in there and they did vaudeville, but it really wasn't vaudeville.
We had some of those downtown, some of those theaters, but not.
And there was isn't it like 12 other theaters at some point? It's a pretty significant number of theaters. Seattle's a theater community. Yeah. And the Fifth and the Paramount are really the only two of the big, what they were called palaces at the time, were the only two big palaces left. So, that's our origin. Along the way, a lot of famous people have showed up at the Fifth Avenue Theater, and you go backstage and we have what we call show bricks that people sign. And it's fun to go through and see who you can find. One of my favorites randomly is Lyle Lovett for some reason. It brings me joy to find Lyle Lovett's name signed on a brick backstage. George Burns performed at the Fifth Avenue. That also gives me great joy. There's a cute one when the theater reopened after the renovations, and in its sort of more current incarnation as a place for musicals. It opened with a production of Annie, which at the time was the most popular show in the world. And there's a little paw print from Sandy the dog back there that also brings me great joy. But what other historical things? I mean, Hairspray started at the Fifth Avenue, went to Broadway, and won Tony Award after Tony Award. And so there's a lot of history in the building. There's a lot of history.
Yeah. If you weren't doing this, what do you think you'd be doing?
Oh my gosh.
Do you have an alternative career?
It's so funny. When Bernie and I were working at the theater, and particularly during the pandemic, and Bernie was still there, we sat and we're like, we have no transferable job skills. What are we going to do? What's going to happen? And we never found a satisfying answer to this question. But if I really was like, you can't do this, you have to do something else, I would work in a bakery. I would like to bake.
Oh, yeah.
It would be very satisfying
now?
to me. I do bake. Yeah. During the pandemic, that is one of the things I did to get myself through. Not sourdough like everyone else. I was like making French pastries. They never turned out pretty. I will say my bakery would have to involve like pastries that are misshapen. Like
Did they taste good though?
But it tastes delicious. That's right. But it doesn't look great. It's always like, well, that's a croissant if you squint at it. But it tastes like one.
Yeah. So baking.
Yeah. Baking.
A different kind of production.
That's right.
And artistry.
That's right.
We've got a couple of standard questions.
All right.
And sticking with employment here, what was your first job that you took a paycheck for?
Yeah. My very first job, I grew up in Wisconsin. I worked on a farm milking cows in what was, I would call it the night shift. It was the 7 p.m. milking. And I did not grow up on a farm. I lived in a city. The city was 5,000 people.
And you were doing this by hand.
We were there was a milking machine, but you had to hand attach everything and then move it to the next cow, and then move it to the next cow. And so I milked cows and got a paycheck for milking cows. Did that for about 6 months.
Did you ever get stepped on or kicked?
No, I never got kicked. I did. There was like this giant, I remember this giant needle to give the cows some sort of antibiotics, and I had to clean it. And I do remember when I was cleaning it, it was really sharp. It went through my finger. It was spring loaded, and I pulled it back to clean it, and it shot through my finger. Excruciating pain. I have since recovered. I'm
last
okay.
time you did that, probably.
It's the last time I did that. I was like, okay, that thing's dangerous.
How'd you get that job?
It was a friend of my dad's. My dad was a high school teacher. And he had a friend who had a farm and they needed help. And they asked if I wanted to do it. And I was 14 at the time. So I had to be driven to the farm every night to work on this farm. And then the other person who worked there was old enough to drive and would drive me back home at the end of the night. And I worked about 4 hours a night doing this. Yeah. That's milking cows.
Hard work.
Very different than running a theater.
Yeah. So you went from Wisconsin to...
I went from Wisconsin to New York City.
Yeah.
Yep. And then New York City to Seattle.
So our concluding question, what's your perfect Saturday in Seattle?
My perfect Saturday in Seattle involves staying in bed and reading the paper, drinking coffee. About 11, finally going to move on. Going to go to La Pichet. Going to have some brunch, ideally an omelet. They have the best omelets. After that, I'm headed back home to sit and read under a blanket. I love to read mystery novels because they always turn out. You always know what happened. It started during the pandemic. I was like, I love reading a mystery. It always turns out at the end. We know what happened.
Gonna find out.
Yeah. And then I'm going to go to dinner in the market. I'm going to go down to the market, and there's 5 places I would go down there, and they're all equally as great. I have no preference. I'm just like, any one of those restaurants is going to be fantastic. That's my perfect day.
Yeah, that's a great downtown Saturday.
That's right. I don't want to leave downtown on a Saturday. That's one of my perfect parts of the perfection.
Yeah, don't get in a car.
I live down here. I don't want to get in a car. I don't want to drive anywhere.
Have you lived
I want to stay
downtown
here
for a while?
I lived on Capitol Hill until about 5 years ago. Moved downtown sort of pandemic times.
Yeah.
And I love being downtown. I love walking everywhere. My car sits I have a parking spot, and it just sits there. It doesn't go anywhere.
So 2020?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. What drew you in that year? Because there were plenty of other people going the other way.
Yeah. Well, I at the time we had a condo up on Capitol Hill that was fairly large, and we didn't really need it to be that big. And we just sort of thought maybe it's time for a change. And I have always loved being able to walk to work. And not that I had a long walk from Capitol Hill, but I was like, we could tighten this up. We could live downtown.
Deal with the grade a little too.
Also going to say, it was an opportunity with downtown. The prices were kind of good to move downtown. I don't know if I could afford it right now. So it was a couple things that came together. Yeah. And I do love downtown. Feels like it feels like the parts of New York I like. It's busy. It's active. There's a lot going on. So yeah, I'm a downtown guy.
It's great to have the vibrancy back. And arts and culture has been a big part of that for sure.
Absolutely.
And all the people you get through your doors and on the stages. So, well, thanks, Bill, for making time for this. And congrats on the success. I was looking at, I think it was the press release you all sent out in October, and you highlighted some of those numbers here. It's impressive from, I know the challenges and headwinds the theater was facing 2-3 years ago, and and some real concern. So,
yeah. Well, thank you for having us. I mean, we've been making progress, but it's partially we're making progress because we're telling our story to people and making sure people know we're still here and what we have to offer. So I love the opportunity to be here and share a little bit about the Fifth Avenue with you.
Yeah, and kudos to the success on the thing that you were hesitant about in fundraising.
Thank you so much.
So well done, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Bill. Appreciate him making the time to come on and his stewardship of the great institution of the Fifth Avenue Theater. Do yourself a favor and get over to the theater. Go see Elf this holiday season and keep an eye on their calendar for 2026 and what is to come. Well, I want to close out with a recommendation for something you got to check out in downtown Seattle, and want to highlight Carmine's. Carmine's on 5th, as it's known now, opened on November 19th, and it is phenomenal. Get over there. They do such a great job. It's great to have their flag planted in the middle of our downtown. Of course, their Pioneer Square location is still rocking and rolling, but great to have a new addition here. I am taking up residency at Carmine's. I'm in there often, and look forward to seeing you. So get into Carmine's. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Seattle City Makers, presented by the Downtown Seattle Association, with support from James Cito and production by Thread Theory.